Hello and welcome to the CMIP Panel Debate Theatre here at NAB Show 2022. I'm out of practice. Our next panel, our next presentation, Cloud Payout, and we welcome to the stage Chris Poulis from Globecast. Chris?
Thank you. Check one, is this on? There we go. It's nice to be back after 2 years, isn't it? Okay, today we're going to talk about Cloud Playout. Before we dive into that a little bit, I want to make sure everyone knows who Globecast is, what we do. We're a broadcast solutions provider for media. We orchestrate contribution, distribution, media supply chain, which contains Cloud Playout that we're talking about today. Delivery of TV channels, sports, news, and special events all over the world. We do that with a number of facilities worldwide. Our world headquarters is in Paris. We are a subsidiary of Orange Telecom. And our LA facility is where we're based here in the US. And we've got between our own teleport cloud nodes and teleport facilities and our partner data centers and other facilities, that is how we host our global content network in order to deliver live channels from all over the world. For the last couple years that we haven't seen each other, that we've been apart, we've been working on a project, an initiative that we call G24. We are working on 4 specific work streams with this initiative. These are growth areas for our customers' business. These include end-to-end OTT delivery, digital platforms, which includes maritime, it includes in-flight entertainment. We are also the back end for Facebook, for their Facebook Watch events. Infrastructure for live remote production, which of course is something that we've had to do a lot more with COVID. It really pushed that and accelerated the development there. And then what we're going to talk about is media supply chain, which is Cloud Playout. We also refer to it as channel origination. And to be clear, what I'm talking about today is not something that we want to do. This is a use case that we of the initial deployment of Cloud Playout that we did for a customer 2 years ago. So everything you're seeing here today is something we've had on the air for 2 years, and we've expanded on it, and we wanted you to get the message out on something that is actually working. So when it came to diving into tackling Cloud Playout for channel origination, many of us know how complicated that is. We were supported in some key areas before we started with this. We had the guidance from our parent, Orange, which is very important. They've been a cloud provider for a very, very long time. Timing with our market. You have to be, and the timing works in a number of ways. Are the customers ready to deploy in the cloud? We can help them get there. Have the technologies reached the point of maturity so that they're going to service the needs that we need? Because channel playout is about stability and real-time failover if necessary. We can't have 10 frames of black during that important commercial. Globecast has been in the cloud for a number of years, so we've been doing pop-up channels, live events, OTT platforms like Nordnet for a number of years, and so this was another area that has really helped us take this leap here in the Americas. And then, of course, probably the most important element of this initiative was partnering with an existing customer of ours to get this started, and that customer is Crown Media. So as most of us know Crown Media, you may not know, they have the Hallmark channels here in the US. The Hallmark channel itself is the 5th most watched cable network in the country with 155 million subscribers. The channel's been around for a very long time. Crown has 2 other linear channels, Movies and Mysteries and Drama. And then, of course, they have a substantial OTT and live app presence as well. There are a number of challenges that came with this project, and it was a terrific use case for us in a number of ways. We didn't feel like we wanted to just stick our toe in the water with our initial deployment. We wanted to cannonball right into the deep end of the pool on about the toughest on-air product and toughest cable network that we could work on, because of the numerous ways that we can solve problems by deploying in the cloud. So they were an existing customer of ours. We were doing the disaster recovery playout on the West Coast. They were being serviced on the East Coast. They are a West Coast-based business, so it was also important for them to come back to the West Coast. They are a very mature media organization. They always like to lead the charge, and so it was great to be able to partner with them, work with them, and take those next steps and be a pretty early adopter in this market. As I mentioned, because of their size, and there are certain times a year because of their programming, they're the most watched cable network in the country. They have a very broad distribution. So a satellite footprint that is thousands and thousands. They have OTT. They have mobile apps. There are C3 VOD is another catch-up video that they do. So there are a number of use cases there that we have to solve for. That is also noted here as multi-path delivery. So we do the satellite uplink from our facility in Los Angeles. We're doing the OTT delivery and managing the cloud playout. This was also an opportunity for them to update their signaling to to the newest generation of SCUDdy markers. It was also an opportunity to add some additional value by additionally decorating their OTT streams with different SCUDdy for their OTT affiliates. Some customization there, and setting them up for dynamic ad insertion. And then lastly, which is one of the biggest challenges, is it's a very graphics-intensive on-air product. 8 to 10 layers of real-time graphics. There's no rendering in advance of playout. These layers of graphics are rendering as we play them out in real time. Most channels rebrand graphics once every year, once every 2 years. Hallmark channels, if you've watched, they rebrand themselves 8 to 10 times a year because it's all thematic programming. So the use of graphics in this particular use case is substantial, and that's always been something that's significantly tested, cloud playout scenarios and technologies. So to be clear, let's talk about how do we define cloud playout? This is a software-based virtualized playout system. We're not taking rack-based servers and deploying them in a data center rack. We're deploying software on EC2 instances in AWS. We're using the native tool set that AWS gives to us. We're also automating the media supply chain, the intake of media that we're processing, connecting to the playlist for playout to the affiliates. So taking the first step with any cloud deployment, many of us have gone through this already, but it certainly is still relevant with regard to cloud playout. Taking the first step is the most difficult step for anybody. It is a paradigm shift. It is not the cabled up HDSDI environment that we've all been comfortable with. You can't run down the hall where the server is in a rack to reboot a card, reseat a card, reboot a server. It's in the cloud. It's managing software, and you're managing video over IP in a network environment. And so you have to reorient yourself on how to measure that, how to monitor that, telemetry from playback systems. All these things are a different approach to how we manage playout. At the same time that it is a paradigm shift, our expectations don't change. We still need real-time failover. We need redundancy across the chain. Again, we can't have, in a network environment, there are some applications in business databases where being down for 20 seconds is fine. Well, that's a disaster for broadcasters. So the very next frame, we're delivering a new frame every millisecond. So that payload has to be dependable. The delivery systems for the content has to be reliable. So there should be no compromise with regard to redundancy and failover. We have a comprehensive toolkit. This is something that has finally developed to the point where with software solution, we have all of the things that you're used to with an on-prem approach. Nielsen ratings, V-chip, secondary events, snipes, etc. And sort of a forward-thinking technology. When you're in the cloud and you're in video over IP, now you're aligned, if you're an OTA broadcaster, with ATSC 3.0. Again, as I mentioned, the ratings and V-chip information, we embed that using XDS data in the content itself when it's then linked to the playlist. Audio processing is also very important. You might want to take 2-channel audio and do a 5-1 up mix. That is something that can be done. The compliance of loudness control also needs to happen. We need to make sure that the perceived loudness of the commercials and the content is the same so that we can be CALM Act compliant here in the US. There are other features that we've done, and we've done recently with Crown Media with Hallmark Channel, so audio description services. So these are accessibility services where we add an additional audio track in the payload that includes a narration, where a narrator is narrating what's going on in a scene in between the dialogue, so that someone who's visually impaired can get the same content experience, a similar content experience, and know what's going on because they can't see as clearly as someone who has vision. So it's accessibility. We've been doing closed captioning for a very long time. This is taking another step, and it's a requirement of larger networks to add that feature. And then, of course, because we're in a network, because we're in IP, now we're ready for the new formats, 1080p, HDR. We know that we're going to go through a HDR with an SDR conversion when we go to that point, and it's UHD ready. We're not having to change out hardware cards, new cables, anything like that when it's time to turn on these new services. We're just provisioning additional bandwidth and using maybe a different codec in order to do this playout, because it assumes that the content is being produced in those formats, and a lot of content is. Certainly Crown is, with all of their original productions, they should be ready for this. So let's talk about where we start with the media supply before we play it out. And before I dive into that real quick, we had an announcement just this past week that Globecast is extending our partnership with AWS. We're part of the AWS Partner Network, so we're working with AWS on our solutions. Anyone that is going to AWS will find solutions of ours, or some European solutions they can find in the marketplace, but you can also partner with us via AWS to work with them, to work with their smartest people in the media and entertainment space in order to design the solutions that you need. So if you're already working with AWS, this is a get-together that they can also support. And we've really enjoyed our engagement with AWS. All right, so how we think about deploying your media. We start by putting your media your content in an S3 bucket if you don't have one already. We'll set that up for you. And we create a peering relationship into our virtual private cloud so that we can get to that content on an as-needed basis, and we use the schedule to drive that traffic. All right, so now we can get technical with a drawing, and feel free because it's a little far away. If you want to walk up and get a little close to the monitor, feel free to do that. So let me walk you through this drawing a little bit. So on the left, in the yellow circle, that's the AWS environment, where your content starts. We have our Globecast orchestrator, which is our cloud-based MAM system that I'll talk about here in just a little bit. We feed the schedule, which is a BXF in this particular case, into orchestrator. Orchestrator then takes a look at the storage. It pairs the content with the playlist events, and we're talking about all the graphics, secondary events, ratings, icons, you name it. If content media or a graphic element is not there, it goes to the S3 bucket, the customer's S3, pulls it into the playback automation where it's transcoded, and then staged on storage paired with the playlist. You'll notice playback A and playback B. So to be clear, these are two different AWS availability zones. So this is this entire supply path is diversely redundant. For those who may not know, an AWS availability zone, these are two physically separate data center complexes that we're talking about, so that if there's something regionally that is affecting one, you'll still have playback going in parallel with the other. And in the case of Crown Media, we're talking about 12 simultaneous playbacks happening on out of each zone. Those playbacks, then those streams are going down our AWS Direct Connect. So the Direct Connect is a secure and isolated connection. It essentially keeps our VPC air-gapped for transport down to Culver City, where we do the switching and monitoring, and then we also pass it on to modulation systems for the uplink. For the uplink, where we put it on the satellite, we deliver to OTT. Any handoff, for example, to Akamai, that happens through, while it's still in AWS, via Media Connect and Media Live services. So you can, if you come to the table with a CDN relationship already in hand, that's a handoff that we can make for you. We're also doing cloud peering, so we're delivering transport of content to many broadcasters from within the cloud, Discovery, YouTube, and others. Orchestrator, as I mentioned, is our MAM. It drives the media supply chain and lifecycle. And that's the other thing I think that's important about a MAM system and why you need it and why we have put a lot of time and effort into that. This is so we're not filling up the storage, and so we don't have people trying to delete things. We're enforcing business rules based on the schedule, and that system is keeping only the content that's needed on the storage. When it comes around in a schedule again, it's requested and brought into the automation systems. So additional benefits for being in the cloud, and there are a few. We're now in an infrastructure as code, cloud, network model. We can be much more surgical for changes that we make via automated scripting and code to the environment. It helps with maintenance windows. If we're adding services, they can be done much more quickly and much more effectively using scripted automation as opposed to hands-on systems. We've talked about deploying in multiple availability zones, so we can reduce risk and add redundancy and diversity. That way, we can also do multi-region. One playback can be happening in US West 1, and the second can be happening in US East 2, coming through a transit gateway, and then down our Direct Connect. And then it opens up new distribution paths, as I mentioned, which cloud-to-cloud distribution, again, we're seeing a lot more of that transport. In our case, once it comes to Culver City, we also hand off to other transport providers for delivery to Sling, Fubo, and others. So, in summary, Globecast is your integrator and tech partner for these things. We have proven solutions that we are providing to our customers. Since we put together the Crown Media opportunity that has been running now for nearly 2 years, we have 25 channels that we're running, and we're exclusively in the cloud. There's no more on-prem cloud playout for Globecast in Los Angeles. This is also very secure. This is also a critically important thing. Whenever we talk about the cloud, we want to make sure it's secure. In our case, we always are working within ISO 27001. That's also the basis of the Trusted Partner Network, the TPN standard that is so important to studios and networks here in the US in particular. So we have been inviting people here at the show this week to come take advantage of our expertise. We have loads of experience with advanced media integration and solutions. We have a global operation. We're starting to do all of these things in Singapore. We've been doing it in the UK, and we have team members from the UK and from all over the US here that can talk about these things further. And these are flexible, customized solutions. Everyone's on-air product has different important values that we want to make sure continue to be important to you, but in a cloud environment. So how can we help you? We won't have any Q&A, but for anyone who has any questions, we're happy to take those because they're keeping us tight on time here, but catch up with me here after the presentation. There are a number of folks from Globecast here that can speak with you, but I really appreciate everybody's attention to Cloud Playout. It's the real thing, and it's what we're doing at Globecast. Thank you.